Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel as I discuss the three women in my life and why I never mentioned my father. So this is going to be a long video, so I'm probably going to break it up to a few parts. So I got my morning coffee and I'm going to need it and you guys are going to need it for this one. So I'm going to start off with my father and why I never mentioned my father. Those who know me know I'm very passionate about, my family dynamics that I grew up in and my mom and all she has done. But the one person I never mention is my father. And this is why. I did not know my father. I don't know anything about him. I never really got to know him. And I think because of that, it's hard to have a conversation or have any ill will or feelings or animosity or good vibes or bad vibes about someone you did not know. I know that there's a lot of half brothers and sisters that I have out there. Some I've had the privilege to meet, some I haven't. But, through that, I was the one that did not get to know him, meaning I never spent time with him. I never got to know him. So because of that, my views of him are just non-existent. I think a lot of that has to do with the way I grew up. I grew up in a very strong family. My mom is very independent and she raised me to be that way. And the one thing that I've always admired about my mom is that she never talked bad about my father. She never dragged him through the mud. She never spoke bad about his family or where he came from or anything like that. Her view has always been, the door is always open for him to walk through it if he chooses to do that. He's not chosen to do that thus far. My job is to pick up the pieces along the way and provide for you as my son, because I was my mom's only son. I'm an only child. And her job was always to say, hey, look, I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to give you all the advantages that you deserve as my son, as my heir. And so that became our lifestyle. I've always had a lot of good uncles and a lot of good aunts that filled in the blanks from anything I needed to know in life. A lot of good cousins, a lot of good friends along the way, friends, parents. So I never had a void in my life of where is my father. That was never part of it for me personally. I can't speak for other people, but I can only speak from my experience. So not knowing him wasn't a bad thing. I think it was just a normal thing for me. It became the norm to not know him. And I think that's just the way it was for me growing up. I carry the Barnes name, obviously, after my father. I've gotten to know some really good people in the Barnes family, and I embrace that as well. But as far as him personally, this is someone I did not know. I actually met him 2 times in my entire life. I remember the first time I met him, it was a total of like 20 minutes. And we had a very small conversation. I was 22 years old. And it really was what I expected. We didn't know each other. And we kind of left it at that. There was no animosity from either of us. I mean, why could there could be? You're talking about 2 grown men that didn't know each other. So there was nothing bad to say about each other. And then I met him again when I was 30. And it was very, in passing, you know what I mean? Like maybe 2 minutes. So probably my YouTube videos are longer than what the time I've actually met him. We never sat down and talked about life. We never sat down and talked about each other. We never sat down and had dinner. It was nothing like that. It was 2 small periods that equal up to about 32 minutes of my entire life. And I'm 46 years old. So you can't really form an opinion about someone like that. You can't have hate towards that person because you don't know that person. You can't have hard feelings or scars because that person didn't put you through anything because they were never there. You get what I'm saying? So my experience with my father is non-existent. So I think because of that, I've never hated him. I've never had any bad feelings. I've never had any ill will. I don't to this day. I don't have any sort of feeling. And I think that's why it was always kind of a blank wall for me. And I think that's how life became when it came to him. And that just became the norm. So I never mentioned my father. And that's it. Now, on to my mom. I love my mom. She's not only my mother, she's one of my closest friends, and she's an amazing woman. And I've learned my drive and determination, especially in the workforce, from her. She's always somebody who strongly says this, work hard so that you never have to kiss anybody's butt. Work hard so that you never have to look over your shoulder. And I was very fortunate to embrace that as a young man, and I carry those values to this day. My mom is very driven as well. well. We were raised as Catholics. We're still Catholics. We're the only two Catholics left in our entire family. So we take our faith very seriously. Being raised in a church was an amazing experience, singing on the choir, all those things I did. And I remember going into my young adulthood, meeting friends and hanging out and getting away from, the foundation of going to church every single Sunday. It was times I didn't go. Then I started going once a month or twice a month, and I wasn't going regularly like I should have for many, many years. And then about 6 years ago, my mom was like, look, you're going through a lot right now. You're going to need faith to pull you through. So she took me by the hand. We went downtown Baltimore to St. Ignatius Catholic Church. And I'll never forget that, because that was the day I kind of broke down and said, OK, I need this. This is going to be my pathway to figure out what steps to take moving forward. And I remember just breaking down in tears and my mom just kind of being my guide for that. And I never look back. I go to church every single Sunday. I don't miss a Sunday. I love going to church. It's for the last 5 going on 6 years, it's just been an amazing experience reliving what I grew up in as a child and just experiencing that faith. So I thank my mom for that. My mom has always instilled those values, and just living as a Catholic is an amazing experience. It's definitely not easy, but I love that my mom instilled those values. I love that my mom and I joke around a lot. I mean, she's a Colts fan. I'm a Steelers fan, and the Colts will never, ever, 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 ever win the Super Bowl. I will not have it. I will not allow it. So, yeah. So stay tuned for part 2 coming up next, where I discuss my grandmother and the leading lady of my life. Stay tuned.